He said, once again, Seder Hamshach is a mocha b'Kriat Shemah b'Tefillah v'Amida. Kriat Shemah na'as is zivug the yasos, the tevuna, so you have the yichud of the lower end of the Abba and Ima cycle, whatever we call it. The yasos v'tevuna, the tzorach hamshach is a mocha, the godless, the zun, and that's the reason why you need this yichud in order to make that possible. So he says like this, he necha b'chazun omdim techida b'matzav shal katnus. And the sheyesh lechem rock as a mochin the ibor shalachem b'shlemos. So all they have complete mochin of ibor, which is the nai, I guess. V'chein as a mochin the tzadik the tevuna. Also, he says the mochin that come from the tzadik the tevuna, the unika, I'll call panim. So they have all of this. So they have, what do they have? They said the mochin the ibor shalachem b'shlemos. And also they have the mochin the tzadik the tevuna in the unika state, I'll call panim. Upon him, sheyesh lechem ol chelke mochin the unika l'cholon. We would say that sometimes they have more than this. Because esher lechem his daveg ad sheyimshkul lechem hamochin the gadol. So therefore, yichud is impossible until you bring them mochin the gadol. V'chol kein l'tzorach zivug the zun tzorach lahachtim la'asos zivug the yasos v'tevuna. So you have to make that yichud first. So we have a little note on this. We'll just pick it up. He says, what does that mean? Zivugim kol partzufim. Kevin shechashefa nishma maha'ein sof derek kol partzufim ba'av sag da'ak. So in other words, it means to say that up above the yichud of zun, say for example, you have other yichudim all the way up to the av sag am kanoid ba'ayin shom. This we know. Mezivug zeh going on. Mezivug zeh. Nimshachim l'zun hamochin the gadlus v'yedei kein yichud b'kolchan lehizdavug, and this gives them the power to be able to make that yichud. Now we have a little note. We have not a little note, but we have a note here. There's a lashon of Rav Be'etz Chaim. He said, "Behine noida she'ein shum zivug ba'olam l'zun im b'dacho sheyachtin lechem b'techidas zivug abba ve'ima." The two itrin that we're talking about, they come into Zer Anpin, that's from the das, or into his das. Mu'achadas, he says, Shalokah Hazun, who l'tzorach atzman v'gufam, it's for themselves, for their bodies, or they themselves, let's say. But to make something new, like banim, in other words, they're whatever they have in the lower stage. Let's see what he says. So he said, "Babanim mechirim any yechol," and they can't do that. They can't reproduce. Unless they get this additional amount from Abba ve'ima, and these are facts that we kind of know. So they also take from what's above the ma'atzal elyon shehu levado yesh lo koich lachadish tomid lefish ein lo sof. It has, that is the ability to be able to make something new. So he has to take it from the ma'atzal elyon all the way up, and the ma'atzal elyon has infinite power to be able to recreate. Masha Ein came b'nat Solim, which is not the case by those things that are not the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, but actually built around it. She'ein lechem ela la'atman masha nitan lechem melamala, because they only really have what comes to them from up above, because they're developed. They are there to be developed. Nimsa she'ein zivug ba'olam or ba'olam shal zun klal. There is no possibility of that. Ella only im came yihya zivug akul nimshach melamala ad ein sof. Now this information we kind of know. He's laying it out nice and easy. B'zachad b'sod kavanas yichud Kriat Shemah ba'amitusa. So this is really the kavana in the Kriat Shemah, is to bring in the shafa shekavar noida. Shuhu b'bechinas zivug abba v'ima kadei l'seis lechem mochim chadashin dezun b'nehem kadei sheyuchlo lehizdaveg gam heim leholid banim b'chedron, so that they can make a yichud for other children for reproduction. But tzarich l'kaveh b'Kriyat Shema. So this idea in Kriyat Shema, lahashlim kol zivugim ad ein sof, that the idea is that when you're saying this, that you're actually trying to bring all of the zivugim, you're sending up man, I think, as we say like this, to bring down all of the yichudim that are up above, all the way to the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, Zer Anpin, Yikabach, Ba'abach, Ve'ima, because this is the way it goes. Zer Anpin gets from Abba Ve'ima, Ve'abba Ve'ima Ma'arik Anpin, Ve'erik Anpin Ma'atik Yomim, Ad Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Becalled Pam Tzrichim Zun Lehizdavik, and each time you have to have a yichud of zun. I guess he means, I'm not sure what he means here by this, because we were just talking about, let's read again, Ad Ein Sof, Becalled Pam Tzrichim Zun Lehizdavik, so you want yichud between zun. Him Tzrichim Nikach Mechadash V'Lechadesh Osam Hashnei Itrim Meshrashim Elyon Commotion is boyer. So as we're going to explain, he says that it have to take something new that's coming from the partsufim up above him, and he says specifically Osam Hashnei Itrin. So the Itrin really is the I was trying to think, it's like a metaphor for when you screw a hose onto the faucet. It's just that's really what the itra is that place where the water comes in. So that's what I'm thinking that it is. So the itra is the very beginning of where the connection is, and the connection has to be from the two aspects, the Abba Ve'ima or the Yisrael Sabbat Tavuna, that are up above them. And this is similar to a man, what he eats. So now I guess he has to consume, he has to take something in to give him the energy. But let's say he doesn't eat. So he says, one time, or he skips one, or he skips 2 meals, or he doesn't eat. I don't know this language, he says, but if he doesn't have enough to eat and he tries to reproduce, it'll eventually hurt the person and kill him. So therefore, every time there's a yichud in zun, so these, in other words, these two connections to Abba Ve'ima from up above to bring that into zun has to be on these two itrin. These are the two sides that come in through these itrin. So for these chedusha, these new itrin that are coming, I'm not sure what that last part was supposed to tell me, that they make the vad out of this itself. Okay, it seems to me there was more to be said about that. That was number bed. Now let's go on and let's look at a little bit more over here on number the next one. So that's what happens at Kriat Shemah. But for zun, that's for Yisrael Sabbat Tavuna. So let me read again. But the higher level comes in at the time of tefillah. So understand that the Mochin contain within them are shakal muchim incorporated b'shlosha bechinas and nikraim salam. There are 3 different aspects of the Mochin, the column of the Mochin as it coming into Zer Anpin. He says that salam actually can be broken up to tzadi the salam. Hema mochin b'labasha b'nai the yasos v'tavuna. So what is the tzadi the salam? They're in the very bottom part of the yichud that's taking place from Yasos and Tavuna, mispashtin b'sfiras hazah, and they go into the spheres of Zechah b'bechinas or panimi, and they become an or panimi. Then you also have the concept of the lamed of salam, and the mem, heim hamochin the bechinas or makif. They're the mochin that come from the aspect of the or makif. Lamed hein the mochin the mulavash b'chagat the yisol of Savuna. So this chagat, the lamed of the tzalim would be mochin that are in the middle section of the column that's coming into Zer Anpin, and they they line up to the chagat of Yasas and Tavuna. So that's where they would be in the middle space. Umem hema mochin b'luvashe b'chabad shalachem. So those are the mochin that are in the very top part of the column that's coming in from Abba Ve'ema, or Yisrael Sava Devuna. They come on top of Zah, mibechutz, they're outside of Zah. Me'irim alav bebechinas makif. They shine him to him like a surrounding light. So let's go on. So he says, let's see, it says like this, V'naknim od the yeshdam mochin the ivor. So let's go on and let's say this. There are two different types of mochin he wants to mention, or three different types. He says there are mochin the ivor, mochin the unique, and mochin the godless. But he wants to say each of them has their own salam, I think. Because echad mebechinas a mochin kolol salam. He says it. Kol salam the yasas, but salam the devuna. So there's a salam for each one of them that comes in, not just one. Now, let me see how this goes. Let's read it out, and because there's some arichos on the next part, 6. We have a little bit of time, might make it. He says, "V'hinech the iver v'kulim nimsoim tomid b'zer anpen." Zarman always has mochin the iver within him. Mochin the tzadi the tavuna shekol elu lo nechser b'menu la'olim. So he always has he always has a mochin the katnas, mochin the iver. He calls him mochin the iver. V'chein the tzadi the tzalim. All of that of tavuna comes in as well. Shekol elu lo nechser b'menu la'olim. He never misses them. There has to be something to keep that keeps them alive. So he said, as shar bechinas mochim tzark lacham shicham el zer anpin, because all the rest of the mochim, it's necessary to bring them into zer anpin. V'chaseder hu shebekriat shema. The idea is like this in Kriat Shemah, mamshichin. A little bit more here. Techila, where are we? Techila as hamochin the yanika. So he brings in first the mochin, the yedika shachadaim lo nimshkuch the zer anpin that still cannot come into zer anpin. That's the first part. The lachem become mamshichan as a mochin the godless, but kriat shemah b'berachos bracha v'shona of the Shmona Esrei. Now let's go back, because there's some arichas here, which seems like it's fairly straightforward, but it gets a little bit complicated. So let's see what he says. He says, Hine the zun b'chlalos yeshnam chamisha partzufim kololim. What are they? Keser chochma bina chagat nai. He says these are partzufim. He said, which means each one of them has 10 spheros. This is like really according to the Rashash. Mochin the iver, the parts of nai. So the mochin of iver go into the parts of a nai. Yanika, the parts of Chagat, V'gadlos, the parts of Kochov. So those are the different ideas that we probably know already. V'hidacha, the partzufi Chagat, V'nai. So when we talk about these two, which is the Vok of Zer Anpin, a kolon and the Zun, which is the general concept of those, I'm not sure what he means by kolonim, but so he means to say that each one of them is an entity by itself. So he said the partsufim, these two parts there's a parts of the chagat, which would be the middle of the body of Zer Anpin, but the nai, which would be the lower part of Zer Anpin, the kolon and the zun, lo tzark lahamshicha lahamshich mochin. You don't have to bring any mochin to them. Kemen sheyesh lechem kavar as the mochin shulachem, because they already have their mochin. Mitachilas itzilus and kanoida, when they first came out, they had a certain amount of mochin to begin with. So everything we try to do, who rock hamshachas and mochin the godless. Shehem hamochin and imshach and the partzufi bina chochma keser. They come. He calls it bina chochma and keser instead of chabad. He calls it kachav. So he says they go into the partzufim, and he says them backwards of bina, then chochma and keser, hakol and the zon. Achein hamochin the godless asban nechlochen the bechinas iver unique mochim. So it comes out like this: the mochin the godless also have these three parts: the bechinas iver unique mochim bepratos. Shekein kol echem parzufi bina chachma and keser are kol of them. When we talk about them as a partzufim, each one of them by itself. So each one of them is going to have 5 partzufim, and again, the paratim specifically within them. The parts of a nai. So he said the parts of which we call the nine now, we're looking at again as the lower part, the legs, etc., and the yisod of Zeranpin, or that he calls them Zun now. It has 10 spheros within it. The parts of Nai also to the Eva, which is the parts of Nai, Unika, which is the parts of Chagat, the Gadlus, the parts of Chabat. So it goes like this. I'm not sure exactly where he's going here, so let's try to. I'm going to slow down if I can. We have a couple of minutes. I don't know if we'll make it through. Should be Mochin, rock the parts of Bina Hakolo. It goes into the Bina, that were the Bina part of these parts of Hakola, the Zer Anpin. It goes only into that part, the Bina parts of in Zer Anpin. Rak la Nai Shalo, but only in the Nai, it's Nai Gadlahalon. He's going to explain it a little bit better. We may come to this tomorrow because we're running out of time, but let's do the best we can. Of a Shabbos Mashlimim as Amshachas and Mochin, the parts of Bina Hakolo. So this parts of Bina, the Bina of Zun, this part, it's a whole parts of with 5 different aspects within the partsuf, and within it, like that, he said, our 10 spheres. You want to look at it that way. The Shabbat Mashlima, the Zamshachas and Mochin, the parts of Bina Hakola. That's where we continue on the Chamshacha to the Bina Hakola. V'chein Nemshachim Mochin, the partsufi Chachma v'Kesach Hakola. So also we have Mochin coming that way too. It's going to go into Chachma v'Kesach Hakola. Nimsa shekol haseder ha'omor kan hu rak klape ham shachos and the asip parts of Bina. So everything we're talking about here is that all the hamshacha is going into the Bina of the Zun Kolel. The Zun, so he said, the parts of Bina Hakolel, the Zun, and the Sakan be a Mosachol, which is, that's the part that's done during the weekend of the Sham, Nim Shachim, Hamochin, the Katas, Vagadas, Rishon. So this is where we get the Katas Rishon. I'm assuming he means Yisrael that's coming to them from Yisrael Sabbath Tavuna. Vamochin, the unique of the Gadlos, Amurim Kanda, when we talk about what we're talking about here, Heim Chelik Mahamochin, the Gadlos Hakolodim, on them Shachan, the parts of the Bina Hakola, which is the whole idea. We're going to go over this again because I'm running out of time. So he said, V'kan, Heim Chelik Mahamochin, the Gadlos Hakolodim, on them Shachan, the parts of the Bina Hakola, which is going into this. So it's the concept going into this Bina Hakola, Bein Hakavona, the Hamochin, the unique Hakolodim, on them Shachan, the parts of Chaga, the Kola. It's not talking about that. But the also know the Av Shachas Karnach Shacham Shachan the Asa. So I'm going to stop here because it's a little bit more. Isn't this the end of time? 6:15. Because it's a little bit more complex here. I'm going to need some time. So we'll work on that next time. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kolo.